Welcome back.
Oh, don't you dare look back, just keep your eyes on me. I said you're holding back. She said shut up and dance with me. This woman is my destiny. She said ooh, shut up and dance with me. We were victims of the night.
Hello, and welcome to episode 31 of KnitScents. My name is Jan, and you can find me as Jan Ellen RN on Ravelry and on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter, but not very often. We also have a Facebook page. It's facebook.com/KnitScents. And we also have a group on Ravelry, which is the KnitScents podcast group. So I hope you will come and join us over there. Today is Saturday, September 23rd, and I think the calendar is a little mixed up because it is actually in the high 80s outside. And tomorrow it is supposed to be 90 degrees. So summer has made a huge return here, even though we did have one day of rain and it was cool for a couple of days, and summer has come back with a vengeance. Not my favorite thing. I'm really waiting for fall, looking forward to fall, but that's okay. We'll take it when we get it. This week, oh boy, typical week here at KnitScents. First, I want to wish all of you who are celebrating a very happy and healthy new year. I had company this past Thursday night, and in typical form or fashion here, every time I have company on a holiday, there is some major collapse of either a major appliance, flooding problems. I mean, we've had it all. It's just sort of, we try to anticipate what's going to break down before the company comes and take care of it. Wait, I'm just going to make a chair noise. I have my feet up on the chair. Anyway, so Thursday I go to start cooking and I turn the oven on, and all that's coming out of that oven is gas. It was dead. And we tried, and lo and behold, I have a new oven on order. So between now and when that oven makes its appearance, we will be eating takeout or anything that will fit into the toaster oven. But I think it's a little too dangerous now to cook in my lower oven, so no loss. I just get a week off of cooking. So that's I guess the bright side of it. Other than that, I made really precious little progress on anything. I really couldn't, I don't know, I want to cast on my Shusui Shrug, and I probably should just go ahead and do it. But I was holding off because I was hoping to finish at least my Find Your Fade. But that's kind of gotten into the tedious phase, and I don't mind working on it. I enjoy it. I'm enjoying doing it, but I still need to keep checking the pattern. So it's not like I can just knit on it anywhere. I have to be with my iPad next to me. So it's you know, that's kind of, I guess, been what's holding up the works. And it's silly, I know, but I have to count the rows as I go because I'm not as good at counting the little eyelet things, which I'll show you when I take it out. So I didn't make all that much progress on it, and like I said, I kind of really want to cast on, so I've been looking for other things to do. I did pick back up my Shaldon Poncho, which I will show you. So this week we have a little bit of knitting, no spinning again, but I have been feeling the desire to go back to my wheels, so I guess that's progress. So hopefully next week I will have at least something to show. And a little bit of enabling, not much, but I do have a little bit. So let's jump in and start with my September socks. Yeah, I'm beginning to reach the very sad conclusion that these are likely not going to be done on time. This is still sock number 1. It is for the Desert Vista Dye Works Sock of the Month Club. I am knitting it out of her, it's the Zombody colorways in the self-striping. This is Here Comes the Zombride. And I love the color, love the color. I am going to do at this point the True Afterthought heel on the sock. And this is as far as I've gotten. Now I have to knit 13 inches before I can start the toe on this one, then cast on the second sock, knit 13 inches, do the toe, and then put in both heels before September 30th. I'm not sure. I guess I'm to the point where I'm just kind of tired of just knitting on stockinette socks, and I think that was my mistake. I thought about doing Hermione's everyday sock, but I was concerned that I would have problems picking up for the Afterthought heel. I probably should have just done it and done a Fish Lips Kiss heel and then gone back to doing an Afterthought heel, but this is all Monday morning quarterbacking. Here I am with, I think it's about 10 inches. Let's see. I actually have my trusty Knit Girls tape measure here, so we can give this a quick measure and see. Yep, 10 inches. Somebody walking back there. So I have another 3 inches to go, which I actually have knit night tonight, so I probably will be bringing this sock and either finishing this sock and casting on the other one, or I will give up the thought of finishing this sock on time and cast on my Shusui Shrug. But anyway, this is all that I've gotten done on my poor September sock, and I hate to do it because it's the end of the quarter. So I likely probably won't finish out the year. I don't know, I really have to think about it. It's not that I don't have enough Desert Vista Dye Works yarn. I've got a ton stashed away, but I don't know. It kind of like once it gets to be a time pressure thing, then I don't want to do it. And it's crazy. And for 8 months I did them, and it was no problem because to me knitting a sock a month isn't like real pressured knitting, but somehow or another I made it pressured knitting, and that was my own doing. So I'm going to do my best to get this pair of socks done, and then sort of take it from there and see if I'm going to go on with it. So that's where I'm at with this, with my Desert Vista Dye Works. And again, this is living in my Whimsy Stitches design bag, which is Whimsy Stitches on Etsy. So that's one thing down. I throw it on the floor, but there's too many pets running around here. So we'll just start it here. I have which for me is just after that coffee disaster from last week over all of that yarn that I had bought. I'm sitting here with an open can of soda, which if you've been watching me at all, you're probably rolling your eyes going, why? You know where it's going to end up. Why would you sit there with an open can of soda? But it was the only thing I could grab, and it's so hot, and it's not hot in the house. It's just so dry, and that was the only thing I found. So hopefully I'll drink it before it spills. The other thing that I did pick up and have been working on and making some really good progress on. If you've been with me for a while, you've seen this before. Otherwise, this is going to be something new, but it isn't new. I started this, I want to say 2 years ago, because it was not last Rhinebeck, it was the year before. So this has been on the needles for 2 years. It's time to get it done, and it's time to wear it. It is called the Shaldon Poncho. And I actually, when I was at Rhinebeck 2 years ago, I saw this as a sample. Now, if you've never been to Rhinebeck, you have to picture the Miss Babs booth used to be at the front of one of the main buildings, and the line would go all the way down the main thoroughfare to walk through those buildings. And because of the popularity, what they did was they moved her booth to that back of that same building, which was perfect. It was great because there's another door out there, so the line can go out across the back, which didn't interfere with the thoroughfare traffic, which has nothing to do with the fact that the line and the mob at the booth is insane. It's absolutely insane. So what I usually do, because the lines are crazy, but I will say, if you go to Rhinebeck, if you're going to Rhinebeck, or if you go to any festival where Miss Babs is vending, unless you really, really want the colorway that she has, hold 1 second. Guys, thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Good babies. The specific colorway that she has for whatever the festival is, she has a specific colorway for Maryland Sheeping Wool, for Rhinebeck, unless you really want to get that colorway, which does tend to sell out quickly. If you go to her booth late in the day or even late morning, afternoon on the second day, on the Sunday, you will find that there's no line. And it's much easier to shop. And usually what I do is I'll go to the booth and I will just smoke out the colors that I like, write them down, and order them when I get home to avoid the line, to avoid the crowd. So that's a good way of dealing, because it's not that you can't get her stuff online. You can, and it's pretty easy, and she ships very, very quickly. It's always packaged beautifully. So if you really want to see the colors before you buy, which is totally understandable, they look different online, although I can tell you I've never seen a clunker from Miss Babs, so if you take any chances, your chances are pretty good you're going to like it. But if you're at a festival, obviously you want to see them in person. So if the line is very long, my suggestion, either take a camera and take a picture of the colorway or write down the colorway and move on ahead and order it when you get home, and you'll be fine, unless you want the exclusive colorway for that particular festival. So now that I've said all of that, what happened was we were walking in that main building where Miss Babs was, and a woman was wearing or had on a poncho, and I loved it. And it was absolutely packed. You couldn't get near the booth. But I asked her, what are you wearing? What is that poncho? And she said, oh, it's the booth sample from Miss Babs. It's the Shaldon Poncho. And I was like, okay, all right. So we wrote down that because I had to have that. And later on, actually it was Sunday, the following day, booth was empty. It was very calm. So I picked out 2 colors for it, and I had started knitting on it, and it sat, and it sat, and it sat. So what I did, I picked this back up again, and I am not sure. I'm going to say this is the front. I think. I actually think it doesn't really matter, but at any rate, it is knit from the top down, and the pattern, I think, calls for just one color, but the sample that was done for Miss Babs was done in 2 colors, and I loved that idea. So I have to be full disclosure here. I don't even know. Let's see if we could find out. Wait. I did leave the tag in here, what my colors are. This one is Coffee Break, okay? So my multicolor that I did in the top and the first mesh section here, this color is called Coffee Break, and that's what you start with, and you do the first mesh section. And then after that, it's a combination of just thin stockinette sections with increases, and then more of these eyelet lace. What do you mean, eyelet lace? It's not even eyelet. Sort of that diagonal yarn over lace sections. And the sample was done up through the first section in the multicolored, and then the rest of it through to the bottom is done in the solid. So I had been somewhere around here in the middle of this lace section. I picked it back up again, I finished the lace, and I started with my second color. So this is totally extras here. And I started with my second color, which is, these skeins are huge. It is actually, I think, over 500 yards. This is cool. Oh, Black Watch, that was the name of it. I'm just trying to see if I can find the yardage. It's Miss Babs Yowza, which is her light worsted, I think they call it, and it is approximately 560 yards. And if I remember correctly, don't quote me, I could be totally making this up, I think it's $38 for the skein, which is really a great price for 560 yards of light worsted. And you, from two of these, you can make a monster shawl. I mean, huge. This is how much I have left over from the first skein. But again, I probably won't have as much from this because the poncho does get wider as you go along. So I've been enjoying knitting on this. I think I'm actually just about done with the stockinette section, and I'm about to start the next lace section. This top part is largely stockinette with the increases, and then these get short little stripes of stockinette, and then larger stripes, larger sections of the lace. So this got some love this week. I'd actually really love to wear it, not when it's 85 degrees outside, but this is the other project that I pulled out because I kind of was like tired of what I was knitting on, and I didn't want to cast on anything else. I am trying very hard to resist the case of cast-on-itis that I have. So I've been digging in my whip pile. Oops, just got that stuck. And this bag, I have to say, I was at that Rhinebeck, not last year, the year before. So many people were walking around with this bag and knitting with it while they were walking. And first of all, it was pink, and pink and orange now, I'm loving that combination. So I had to finally stop and ask somebody, where did you get that bag? Because it has the great, you know, handle, but it also has a nice long shoulder strap. And it was so well made. It was so nice. Turns out it was called, I don't know, last I checked, I don't think it's still available. It had a pretty green lining on the inside, and it is a nice size bag. This is from Toad Hollow Bags. Okay, toad, like hopping toads. Toad Hollow Bags. They are on Etsy, and actually she had named it the unofficial Rhinebeck bag, the unofficial Rhinebeck project bag. So I don't know if they're still available. I did check to see if she had them for this year. I didn't see them on her site, but if you like the bag, you may be able to send her a message and see if she has any more, if she will be making any more, but I can highly, highly recommend this bag. So that's project number 2. And then there is I know that soda's going to fly. I know it. Okay, where are we going to put this one? Okay, well, stick this under here and hopefully won't pull out any wires. God, I'm a hot mess. There's a surprise. Okay. Keeping my eye on that can of soda. I should put it behind the computer before it goes sailing. My Find Your Fade. It did get some love. Not a lot of progress, but we're rolling along. I am on color 4. Let's open this up and see where I am. Okay. Where are we? I think, yes, I just started the lace section with color 4. So if you haven't seen this before, what it is, you start with a garter section, and then there's a lace section. Then you fade into the next color in garter. You do a little bit of garter in the next color, a lace section. Then you fade and garter into the next color. Then you do some garter in that color that you just changed over to, lace. And you can see I faded from, this was like, we went from the golds, and here we transitioned into a lighter speckled with the gold still in it, and a little bit more yellow and orange. And now I have faded into, here you can see where I faded from the gold into the orange, and this is more of an orangey section. And you can see where it's going because it's got the pops of the really deep purple and magenta, which is the last color. So I am on the lace section now with color 4. I just started it, so you can kind of see my little yarn overs there. There they are. So I have that to finish, and then when that lace section is done, I will be fading into color 5, which is already, I believe, quite a bit darker. And it's really, this, I had gotten, these are all Hedgehog Fibers skinny singles. And a couple of weeks ago, she had said she had gotten many, many requests for the colors in the original Find Your Fade. In other words, the one that Andrea Mowry knit and is on her pattern page. So she did a one-off of a kit with those 7 colors in it, and I was literally sitting there refreshing my page and able to grab one of those kits. So ultimately this will be in the same colors as the original Find Your Fade, all Hedgehog skinny singles. And the reason that it's difficult to get some of these colors, and I'm still waiting to rejoin, Hedgehog Fibers has a monthly club. It's actually 3 months. And when you join the club, you get 2 skeins of, I don't want to say matching, sometimes to me they're not really even coordinating colors, but they always coordinate back to something. But they're exclusive colorways to the club. And when Andrea first knit the pattern, she used a lot of exclusive colorways that were not available on the Hedgehog Fibers website. So Beata very nicely decided to answer a whole lot of people's prayers and came out with that kit so that they could knit the original even though they were exclusive colorways. So that's the story with my Find Your Fade. That's where I'm at with that. And again, I have been stalking her. I believe I missed the signups for September, October, November. Is it September, October, November? No. November, December. So I think it should be opening up soon for October, November, December. I had decided not to join because I had a lot of those skinny singles and then ended up using them in that Marled Magic mess, which we're going to revisit. I brought it and we're going to revisit that. So I decided to rejoin the club, but I had missed the signups. So I'm eagerly waiting for her to open them up again. And she has several different clubs. She has a sock yarn club, the skinny singles club. I think there's an Aran weight club. And I believe there is a cashmere club. But again, I could be making all of this up. But if you check the Hedgehog Fibers website, there may be some information. I could not find a date for when the signups would be open. I checked her Ravelry forum, but if I get any more information on when they'll open up, I will certainly share that information. Now, here's the other thing I dragged out. After having gone to the Do You Knit and seeing all of those magnificent, colorful, bright colored shawls and sweaters and shrugs and everything just blended beautifully, I decided, since I hadn't ripped it out yet, to revisit my Marled Magic, which is a pattern from Stephen West. It was a mystery knit along, I believe in the spring. And I had taken almost every, share noise, corded skein that I had and decided to put it in this pattern. And I also got, because Stephen had recommended using mohair or adding mohair and holding a strand with it, which I love mohair. I had just finished in my last show, I did show the poncho that I had just finished where I held a strand of kid mohair with a strand of Madeline Tosh sock. Loved the way it felt. So I love the mohair, and I loved each of the colors that I used on this. I just don't think I loved them together. So I don't even know where I left off. I'm going to have to go and check out on my Knit Companion and see. But having seen this finished in other colorways and in other yarns and whatnot, I'm not sure I'm going to pull this. I really think I may press ahead with this and just let the chips fall where they may. Honestly, because so many of the items in the shop were just brightly colored and just came out beautiful. The one thing I think that set me off, and I'm not even sure how it happened, was sort of right here. And I don't know if this was just the way the yarn came out or if I started knitting something in a different color, but to me this sort of just didn't, this together here didn't work right. I don't know. And again, I haven't looked back at the pattern. I ran from this like the plague when I saw the way it was coming out, literally smack in the middle of a row, and was about to frog the whole thing, and it's been sitting for months. But I really do think I'm gonna press ahead and maybe try to combine the colors in a way that I wasn't going to combine them, and see if that maybe tones it down. I can quickly just take out, because like I said, I had taken like every skein that I had. This is the pink kid mohair. This I used, I think I held with this pink mohair. Do I know? Oh, this is the skinny singles from Hedgehog Fiber, and I know the lights are washing it out. Let's see if maybe if I do it like that. No, that's making matters even worse. Anyway, it's a white, sort of a pinkish white with pops of pink in it. What else did I have in here? I had one skein from Knitter's Nightmare that I was treasuring because I loved it, and shoot, it's actually attached. So we won't pull too hard on that. This is a hot mess. I am literally sitting here with ends of a hot mess. I think it's easier if I just do it that way. That's the colors that I had to work with. And I don't know if I'm going to make some changes here and revisit the color choices, because I don't know. But I can't bring myself to rip it out. So if you have a suggestion, a comment, I have a solid pink here that maybe I may work in some more solids. I also got Debbie Bliss, some green mohairs, and yarns that the greens will go nicely with. So I think what I may do after I finish this orange section, which is I think what pushed me over the edge, was really putting the orange in. I don't know, and it's too late really to rip it out because it's down here too. So I don't want to just leave that one section of orange kind of hanging. I think what I'm going to do is finish this orange section and look at the pattern and go on to the next section and try to pick something that has a lot less orange in it, like maybe the skein from Knitter's Nightmare, which has just a little, I don't know, yeah, you can see it, just literal pop of orange, so that it will blend, and then take it into either a blue or back into a pink or something, or lavender or something other than the orange with the green and everything else, and then leave it go with that. So this is going to be revisited. I was going to frog it. I really couldn't even look at it. But like I said, having seen all of those beautiful colors blending together so nicely, I decided, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try it. And I'm going to give it another try. It's going to be a long term. I'm not going to hold off my Shusui Shrug is what I'm trying to say here. I am actually not going to hold off trying to wait to finish this, but I'm not going to frog it. I am going to give it another try. So that's it. I actually did cast something else on, a little thing, which I'm going to show you why when I get to enabling, which I think we are at, because that's all I've done. Again, no spinning. So we do have a little bit of enabling. So we're back to enabling. Had to stop for a second there. Not too much. I was actually pretty good. What I want to show, when Thursday night, my daughter's boyfriend brought me, he was out on the island near Riverhead, and I know there's in Yaphank, and if you're familiar with the island at all, if you're not familiar with the island, Yaphank is sort of toward the south shore, before you get to the forks where the island splits and you get the North Fork and the South Fork. And I'm very familiar with that Long Island Farm, Long Island Fiber Farm, something like that. It's the owner is Tabitha. She raises alpaca. I've purchased her fiber and her yarn many times. I've also purchased her products that she makes, lip balm, skin products. She's very, very lovely, lovely lady. I actually would like to take my camera out there one day before winter sets in, and if it ever does, and maybe take you all on a trip to her farm out in Yaphank. But he found a farm that raises Shetland sheep out near Riverhead, and he was such a sweetheart to bring me back a skein of their, it's called 8 Hands Farm, and this is bulky Shetland yarn. It is 4 ounces, and I've worked with Shetland before. I've never processed it myself because I know it's a double-coated sheep, and I really didn't want to try to separate the coat, and I know that if you don't, you can get very scratchy yarn. Well, I would have no problem using this yarn as a cowl, which I'm not sure, I'm kind of debating if I want to use this for a cowl or if I want to use this for mitts. But it is natural colored. It has such a just, oh, sheepy goodness is all I can say. I love this yarn. It was spun beautifully. So that's thing number 1. So thank you, Eric, very much. I love this skein, and we'll make something wonderful with it. So that was enabling number 1. The second thing is, I don't know if I had mentioned, but I did rejoin Yarnbox. I had been, I don't know if my lights are just doing funny things or if it's just getting darker. Hang on one second. Let's see if I can fix this somehow. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, okay. I think that's better. Anyway, I decided to give it another shot because, of course, I needed more yarn, like another hole in my head, or like my mother would say, another hole drilled in your ears, or anywhere else. But anyway, my first of my second Yarn Club boxes came from when I rejoined. And this was a new, actually no, I'm sorry, this is not a new to me yarn. This is a yarn that I see at, I believe they vend at both Rhinebeck and Maryland Sheep and Wool. It is Sheldridge Yarns. This is 80-20 fingering, so it's superwash, 80% superwash merino, nylon, 3-ply fingering weight. This is the color Rust, and each skein is 50 grams and 185 yards. Love the color. Loved, love, love this color. It is a beautiful yarn. With Yarnbox now, you can request, I think, if you like warm tones. I'm not exactly sure what the options they gave you to pick, but you can pick if you don't want bulky or heavy yarns, if you prefer thinner yarns, which is what I did put in because other boxes came with bulky yarn or a heavier weight yarn. So this box came with 4 skeins of the Sheldridge yarn, and I think they said it totals 740 yards total. So that's a good amount of fingering yarn, and the patterns that they gave you, I'm looking to see if these are both knit. Oh, it looks like they gave you 2 knitted options, because usually they give you a knit and a crochet, at least that's what I thought. but this looks like there's 2 knit options and 2 crochet options. I actually love this. Love this. But if that's all crochet, I don't know that I could handle that. So, and the names are not here, just the designers. One is Gabrielle Vigina. I don't want to butcher the name, but that's the one designer of these 2 patterns. And then Angèle Lumiere. Did I say that good? Is that good French? Is the designer of these 2 patterns. So this may be a knit and this a crochet, and these 2 both to me look like they're knitted patterns. I will have to check and get back. But in any case, that was, I love the color. Let's see if it says on here. Oh yeah, the shawl, these 2 are both crochet. Yeah, these are 2 crochet patterns. These are 2 knit patterns. If I read the card first, I wouldn't have had any question. And it says, yeah, I got the fingering, and they also it also comes in a new bulky weight blend. So yeah, so that's what came in my box. I do love the color, and Sheldridge Farm is located in Ontario, Canada. So that was one piece of enabling. The other thing that I got actually has to do with the little project that I cast on. I had found, and it was actually accidental, I think it was from seeing an ad on the bottom of a Ravelry page or something along those lines, where Martina Beam, who is the designer of so many beautiful patterns, the Viajan, the Hitchhiker pattern, Lefty, you've all seen her patterns. Well, she decided she is a user of a hard-covered week planner. In other words, a good old pencil and paper type planner. Because she ran into some similar problems that I've had, where I've put things on my phone or into my computer and either didn't go back and look again or it got erased. So she decided that, and she found, she has a whole video on it. So if you're interested in how she came about to come up with this idea, I will link her website below. But what she came up with was something called Strich Planner. I don't know if my lights are going to wipe it out. This is the final design. They just started shipping, I think, this week. And it also has 2018 on the back. And on this one, there is a berry colored, to keep it closed, elastic. What she did was she went to the manufacturer of the day planner that she was using and said, I would like to keep your design. I love your planner, but I want to make it specific to knitters. In other words, add in places in the planner where people can put what they're working on, what they want to work on. There's room if you go to knit night or if you see a pattern on somebody and you like the pattern, there are pages in here where you can just jot it down, and then when you get home you can look it up and write the information and stuff. There are 2 bookmarks in here which she made in the berry and the gray. I'm just going to give you a little peek at it. If you open it up, she had an artist, and I don't remember the artist's name. I don't know. Draw pictures of her patterns, and that is in the flyleaf or the cover pages. I mean, I know that's Lefty. I think I see a hitchhiker here. So I thought that was just such a nice touch. And it's done in like that very, I don't know what you call it, shadow type print. And she's added in so many features. She put, an explanation of how to use the particular planner, and she's coming out Again, this will start, well, I mean, I guess you could use it now, but it's technically to start January. And there is room in here, like she had them add in, this is a page, the goals page is something that they had in the original planner that she had, but she had them add in personal, creative goals. So that if you say in the coming year your goal is to learn brioche, or your goal is to knit a sweater, or some thing that you've never done before, you have a place where you can actually write it down, put it down. There's personal goals, and then each week is done single page. So you can write in, your typical appointment journal, whatever you would normally put in your day planner. And there are, let's see, if you look on the top, which I thought was ingenious, like you're at week 8 here, but week 9 and week 10, there are tabs here so that you can see if your book is open and you're on this week, this is the week you're at, you can see really important things that are coming up in the following week or so you can plan around that. But then what's really fun is in the back, she's added on, I'm trying to find where the knitting stuff starts. Knitting, okay, here we go. There's a whole section on knitting ideas and project index, and I know my lights are kind of washing this out. There are yearly overview if you are in a club and you're in a knit along or whatever, what your goals are. Like if you need to have something done for, say, you're making a shawl and you want to gift it to somebody for a June wedding and you want it done by May, you can write in here what percentage you would need to have done so that you're done on time. So she's added that in there. And then knitting ideas. So this is where you would put, say, if you see somebody wearing something and you want to write it down, you just can put down the name of the pattern, the designer, the source, the yarn. This is where you just put projects that you may want to consider doing and you don't want to forget about them or you don't want to forget what they are. And then when you actually do start them, here's the page where you would list them. Okay, and then when you actually do start them, here's where you would put all your information. So knitting project 1, you would put the name of it and then all of the information as you go along. So that, that's specific for knitters. And she gives you a pattern in here, and that's what I'm going to show you. It's called One for the Books, and it is a pattern to knit your own cover for this little book. Which I thought was a really, really clever idea. She gives you a nice big section. I'm sure it is not big enough for, oh, well, no, that's your wish list. A section to write down your yarn purchases if you want to keep track. Personally, I'm not sure I'd want to look in December at a whole year's worth of yarn purchases. I might get sick. But if you want to, you certainly can. I mean, I think this is good is if you get something and you're getting it for a project. This actually really is a good idea. If you think you might run short, this way you have a track of where you bought it. Because I know I gave up on trying to keep my stash current on Ravelry. That ship sailed maybe 5 years ago. That's gone. But if you purchase something and you find that you run out or that you need more or you want to know where you got it or somebody asks you where you got it, you'll have all that information here. So that's good. There's the yarn wish list, which actually to me, I think this is actually a really brilliant idea because sometimes I see a yarn and I really try to restrain myself from buying single skeins or jumping off and buying something unless it's a kit with a project in mind. But that doesn't mean that I don't see a yarn that I really love. I just don't happen to have an idea or a project for it. You can write down here your wish list and go back and revisit that and say, well, I thought I saw or I really wanted that yarn. Now I think I have a project for it and I don't remember. So that's a good place to put that. So like I said, this is really made with the knitter in mind. There is a section for trades. If you have yarn that you want to trade or sell, you can list it here, and the quantity and the price. And if you are in search of yarn, there's a section to put that. There is a whole bunch of websites that she listed here, which may be interesting. There's knitting events and fiber festivals. And then there's a list index. And a lot of this, again, I'm going to be honest and say, I'm not exactly sure what the intent is for or how to use it. And I know that she does explain it in her videos, and she will be coming out with more videos that go more into detail as we start using the planner. So that I thought this would be such a great thing, because up until a few years ago, I was a daily planner user. I had the little, I don't even think they make it anymore. I don't remember the company because I haven't been able to find it. And I had a local stationery store which used to sell the refills, so I had the leather case. I wish I could remember the name. And every year I got the refill for it and filled it out, and that was all great. And then I got into the decorating it with they have stickers that, you know, if there was a birthday on that day, you could put the sticker on it. And it was actually fun. It was almost sort of like a combination of daily planning and scrapbooking. And then I started entering things on my phone. They stopped making that daily planner. You couldn't buy the refills anymore, and the store was gone. They closed. I couldn't even get it online, so I gave up on the daily planner. But I hope she continues on with these things, because I am actually really a lover of the good old pen and pencil. Put it in here, keep it in your bag. And she was very smart and made it in not the teeny size, but a small enough size that this will fit in your knitting bag, this will fit in a handbag, even a small one, and it's not thick. So you can carry it around with you, which I thought was great. So I'm going to explain. I started my book cover for it. And if ever you can make wrong decisions, I made not one, not two, but 3 really bad choices when I started it. Again, it was the day the oven broke down. It was late. I guess I was only functioning with half of my mind, which is probably a quarter of a normal mind. So initially I chose, well, it calls for 50 grams of fingering yarn. So I'm like looking through my stash going, you know, my leftovers. I've knit so many socks and so many fingering weight things. I have to have 50 grams somewhere of something that can knit a book cover. I mean, it's not like I have to, you know, knit something in a particular color. Well, the only thing I could find at the time was a skein of Madeline Tosh in black. Okay, so I picked a black yarn. The only needles I could find, now she says US 1, 2 millimeters. Now I knit all my socks on US 1s, but they're 2.25 millimeters. So 2 millimeters actually equates to a size 0. The only ones I could find were black carbons. So here I am with black yarn on black needles, and this genius chose a black stitch marker. I got about this far and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Somewhere I ended up with a drop stitch. I've got my work light, I'm like leaning at it, I can't see anything. And I'm like, I don't think I'm supposed to be struggling on a book cover. So I ripped it out and I went through, I figured, all right, I'll just open up a skein. Well, I went through my stash and I found that I had this yarn, which I have to be honest, I don't know what it is. I only know that I had purchased this to make a pair of socks that were designed by Laura Linneman. If I find out what the yarn was, it was dyed for those specific socks, and somehow or another I managed to mess up the socks and rip them out. So I have 2 skeins, but it's actually 1. But divided into 2, if that makes sense, because I think I knit 1 sock and messed the second one up so bad I ripped the whole thing. Anyway, so I'm going to have a MCN. My book cover is going to have cashmere in it. And what it is it's knit literally from, in one piece, from the corner. You knit this, okay, it's a free pattern, but you need to go to her website. I think she had asked not to republish the pattern or reprint it anyway, but I'll link it all below. But the point is, it's all knit in one piece. And what you do is you start with Judy's Magic Cast On down here. So it starts knitting like a toe-up sock. And then at this point, I think I have a little further to go. When you finish knitting the corner of the bookcase, and it's, I don't know, I want to live in her head for about, like an hour or so just to get, where does she get these ideas? Once you finish this, you start knitting back and forth, because obviously you're not going to want the cover to go on the whole thing. So you knit then this flat piece, but it's kind of like knit at the angle, goes around the book, and you end the same way with like what would be the equivalent of the toe of a sock. So when you're finished, you're finished. So that's my other cast on thing, was the pattern that she included in the book. It is a free pattern, and again, it is on her website if you go, and I will link it below, the site for the planner, which also contains the pattern for the book cover. And you can make them in different sizes. She does tell you how to do that. And also what she had available on the website was, let me get them out here, some knitting stickers, some knitting related stickers, so that you can start, because like I said, I really enjoy decorating my planners. So I got a couple of extra sheets of these stickers. So if you're knitting on socks, you can put your sock thing. I think there's, what do we have? There's a scarf, there's a shawl sticker, sweater, ball of yarn, crochet, if you're up to sewing. There's a yarn swift. Here's even spinning wheels down here. If you're up to washing an item, or if you need to wash an item or put washing instructions, you have a little washing sticker. So I just thought it was really, really a cute idea to come up with a daily planner that will fit not only your everyday life, but add in your knitting as well, because for so many of us, it is a part of life. And what she also had in the shop was these labels, which what you do is after you've sewn your book cover, or knit your book cover, and you put it on, you sew one of these labels onto the book cover, and it's actually a looped piece of fabric, and it becomes a pen holder. So then you have a pen holder for your planner. So I thought that was really a great idea. So that was my other enabling. That was really it. But I do have to show, and only because it pertains to the podcast. I don't know, I'm sure most of you are aware that Crayola came out with a new colored crayon called Pitiful. And my husband worked on the promotion, the promotional shoot for the when they premiered the new crayon. So I had a bunch of swag, which is to say, I got a package of Pitiful in all the forms it comes in markers, in this is a nifty crayon that like swivels up, in the large fat crayon, in the pencil, all of that. I got a little box of crayons with the new Pitiful in it. But what I wanted to show you was that they were making, at the premiere, they were making up t-shirts. And on the front, you could choose from several patterns. So he chose Hi Pitiful, but on the back, you could custom put what you wanted. And he put on the back KnitScents over the Pitiful crayon, which I loved it. I loved it. So it's my first official KnitScents t-shirt. So now I have buttons and a KnitScents t-shirt. So I thought that was so cute. I had to share that with you because I love that. I thought that was such a nice idea. And I also got, which most people would say, you know, oh, nice bag. Well, I'm looking at this going, hey, nice knitting bag. It's a backpack, great fabric. I got a knitting bag out of the Pitiful color from Crayola. So that's all of my enabling. That's it for the week. My last item is my Desert Vista Dye Works contest. I did lock the thread. I was hoping to get to 10 entries. I could not in 5 weeks get past 1 entry. So I thought that was kind of long enough. So the good news is that the winner of this skein, I did not need a random number generator. The winner of the skein of War Base Desert Vista Dye Works in the Patsy colorway is Marion 1. So Marion, you've gotten the skein of Desert Vista Dye Works, which I will get to you ASAP. I know you're going to make something beautiful with it. And that brings us to the end. So I will wish everybody a very happy rest of the weekend, a very good week upcoming, and I think that's about it. So happy knitting, and remember to knit with sense.